Liquor Talk, brand new episode of Grown Folks Conversation with some liquor. And no, we didn't go to the Diddy parties, and we don't have 1,000 bottles of baby oil. It starts right now. Welcome everybody to another edition of Liquor Talk. I had to say something about it because everybody, their mama been talking about it. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Liquor Talk. We're in the midst of season 7, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
All right, joining me today. She's podcasting from Virginia. She's the host of the Blended Family Podcast. It's Miss Lorraine. How you doing today?
I am wonderful. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful as well. I'm not sitting in somebody's jail because I had 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
I would hope not.
And I'm not the person you got to tell no to when they want to party.
I know that's right.
People want to party and have some drinks, you know what I'm saying?
That's right. Let's
go. All right, now that we're done with the jokes and stuff, I'm pretty sure there's plenty more coming. But tell people about your platform, Blended Family Podcast.
Absolutely. So my name is Lorraine Best, and I am the host and co-founder of the Blended Family Podcast. Blended Family Podcast is basically talking about families who have been broken up, and they reunite with someone new and they become one. So your partner may have children, you may have children, and you just blend in the family, and you're talking about some of the difficulties that you may go through. There may be culture shocks there. Exes involved as well. You know, exes, they also play a role in it where they may not want you to have your children meet the new partners or whatnot. So that is what the podcast is basically about. And it's just learning and putting my own personal experience online so people is easy to relate and also give me their feedback as well. And, just to share, because a lot of things we just don't talk about. A lot of things are just hidden. So instead of just always talking about relationships, we're really talking about family matters here.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what made you decide that you finally wanted to do a podcast? Because everybody has the ideas, but nobody executes on them. So what made you decide I'm going to execute on this idea?
Well, what happened was I had met someone actually, and he was also divorced. He had children. I'm divorced. I have children, and we got in together. And we both had decided that we were just going to go full throttle with the relationship, and we wanted our children to meet. So I literally came up with a whole day of activities for our children to meet. And it went on and on and on and on. And I would tell my girls about this. And someone from my job actually said, hey, Lorraine, why don't you make a podcast called The Blended Family? And I was like, you know what? That sounds really, really good. And I said, I'm going to come up with some content, to talk about. And I also discussed this with him as well. He actually liked the idea. We actually came up with a launch date and everything. And about 1 month prior to the opening, he actually ghosted me. And
he ghosted you?
He ghosted me. And I'm talking about ghosted, like he didn't return my calls. It's like he up and disappeared. And a lot of people asked me, they was like, well, do you know if he's alive? I said, no, he's very much alive. I ended up going to his house, I think that same week. I waited to the weekend, and I had keys to his place. So I just took all of my belongings out of his house. And the crazy part about it is that the two major things that I went to his house to get, I actually ended up forgetting. But I took everything else out of his house and left his keys there, left a little note, and then that was it. And
wow.
it really bothered me because we're both in our 40s, and he's 5 years older than me. And I'm like, if this was something you didn't want to do, you can just easily have a conversation about it. So that was the bothersome of it all. Nonetheless, I still decided to launch Blended Family Podcast and talk about me getting ghosted, talked about how the family became one for a short period of time. And then, just started making content about blended families, about divorces and things like that. Just literally putting my own personal experience on the line in front of the world. And it was it was extremely relatable to a lot of people. And I was blessed to have so much feedback and positive feedback to continue basically.
Yeah, that's what's up. Listen, don't feel bad. I got ghosted earlier this year. It's not a fun feeling. Like people
No.
will sell you a dream. They make you sound like they're down with you, they're
Yes.
rocking with you. And
Yes.
that's also, and it sucks when it's somebody that's in your same age range. I'm like, you went through things and then somebody's showing you
Mhm.
differently, but you
Yep.
want to ghost them. I would
Yep.
have had more respect for you if you would just tell me what's up. If you need space or something's going on, I would have
Mhm.
had more respect if you would just tell me what's up.
Yep, I totally agree with you. I think what they're calling it now, because some people still say it's ghosting, but they also call it love bombing as well, where you have people who just want you to like fall in love with them. They love you. They do all the right things. They are everything. Because this man literally checked off all the boxes and then some, and then all of a sudden just disappear. And I had a relative. She actually sent me an article about love bombing. There's a lot of people out there doing it, whether they're men or women. They are love bombing and then they're disappearing and they move it on to the next person.
Like, I don't get it. Like, what is the point of love bombing if you know you're just gonna move on? Because if I'm showing you love, I'm thinking long term. I'm
Think
thinking we're going to make some shit happen together, not some
absolutely.
short term thing. Like, what is wrong with people?
Right, exactly. And it's the same thing for me. After my divorce, I had some healing, some self reflecting that I needed to do. And once I had done all of that and I was ready to actually date and date to find my mate, I was like, okay, I'm ready for this. And he was basically the first relationship that I had after my divorce, which was basically 2.5 years later. And then that happened. So, I was extremely crushed. And I was just like, that is experience that I will never ever want to have again, go through, or want even anybody else going through. It's like if you don't want to be bothered with me, I'd rather you just tell me. Just tell me. I'll still be hurt, but I'll be happy. I respect you more because you did tell me.
Yeah, there's been plenty of women that tell me that, hey, this not working for me. I still got respect for you. I still show you love on
Absolutely.
social media. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not somebody I'm just gonna hit the block on. You know what I'm saying? I still show love, but it's like
Yes.
it may not be the same because I thought highly of you, but
Right.
I have a little more respect for you compared to somebody that
Yes.
just goes for no reason.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you there. So yes.
Yeah. Now, now, speaking about the divorce, now,
Mhm.
what made you? How long? Why did it take so long to get back into the dating phase after going through a divorce?
Okay, so to be very transparent, I was married twice and divorced twice. So my
Oh
first
wow.
marriage, I was young. We both were young at the time, and we did have a son. We conceived a son within that marriage, and with that marriage, he was more of a womanizer. And I'm a very independent woman, but I'm also submissive as well. And we just did not mix well at all. And I waited about 4 years to really seriously someone date someone for longevity. And I did date someone prior to me meeting my second husband, and that was short lived. And then when I met my second husband, we ended up things moved very fast with us. I got pregnant with my second child, his first son,
Mhm.
and then we were together nearly 10 years before I decided to uh, get a divorce from him. And the reason why I took such a gap is because I needed to work on me a little bit. And I always tell people for each relationship, you should be a different person. I was not the same woman I was with my first marriage, with my second marriage. I was two totally different women at that time because I've also grown up. I got married in my early 20s and then I got married in my late 30s. And that was that. But I waited to date for the simple fact that I moved to a different part. And by the way, I live in New Jersey. So I moved to
Oh,
a different part in New Jersey, in South Jersey. And I wanted to concentrate on my children and make them comfortable and make them also understand the situation of what's going on between me and their dad. So my focus was mainly on them before I can really focus on myself and trying to date anybody else. And that's what I did. And don't get me wrong, I did go out. It wasn't like, I sheltered myself and like I didn't go out and, meet people. I did. No one met my children, and I liked it that way because I wasn't ready to settle down. I wasn't ready to settle down until I met the guy who actually ghosted me. That's when I was ready to settle down for longevity. And even after that, I was still ready to settle and find my mate for the rest of my life. I always say, I'm looking for my rocking chair person, who I can sit on the porch and we could both rock away and talk about people in the streets. So, I kept myself open to love because during that time that I was focusing on my children, I was also healing from my divorce. And the one thing that I want to mention is that even though I was the one who filed for divorce, it still hurt me because I still had loved my ex-husband at that time very, very much. But we were too much of oil and water, and things was just not mixing up. And it was time to walk away. And sometimes the hardest steps is walking away from someone that you do love. But you got to do it, and for it to be necessary for you to grow and for you to heal. And for you to also find someone who can love you.
That's real. That's so real. I do appreciate you sharing all that. And also my bad about the time thing. To loosen things up, the difference, to loosen things up though, how are you a Jersey fan? How you live in New Jersey, but you rock with the Cowboys?
How does
that happen?
Oh my God, you've been doing your homework, I see. And first of all,
I saw one.
This is what's going to really
one of your clips.
Oh, you did? Okay. So this is what's going to shock you. I'm actually from Brooklyn, New York.
Wow.
So I am up against a lot of Giants fans, but I have been a Dallas Cowboys fan since 1994 when Deion Sanders was on the team. And I have never left that team. But my New York team is Jets. I never was a Giant fan, but I am a Jets fan. I will say that for New York. But I am a die-hard, ride-hard Cowboy Nations fan all the way through. I had my jersey on the other night. I'm like, Cowboys here for life.
Yeah, I saw that. And I'm like, you know what? You are the epitome of why Stephen A. goes off on the Cowboys fans.
Oh, really?
They everywhere. They everywhere. Like,
yes, we
I
are.
know some down in South Florida. Some of their asses ain't never been to Dallas, but they have Cowboys jersey on.
But I'm going to say, I'm one of them. I have not been to Dallas. But I am a Cowboys fan 100%. And still, that's almost, 30 years? 94 to now? That's about 30 years right there.
Yeah, and they haven't done nothing since.
You know what? We're not going to go there right now, okay? We are not going to talk about my Cowboys.
Listen, I'm a fan of one of the worst franchises in football. I'm a Bucks fan, and you already know the Bucks always. But hey, they done gave me 2 Super Bowls in that time since the Cowboys last did.
There you go. So, this is true. This is true. This is true. Yes.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this looks like I had to loosen up the mood a little bit.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't want you to get all tense on me and all.
Yes.
So, what did you learn about yourself? Now we are gonna go back to the divorce and thing. What did you learn about yourself after the divorces?
You know what? It is so hard to find what you can learn about yourself in situations like that. But the one thing that I did learn was that I needed to speak up a little bit more, and I needed to learn how to express my feelings. I am a type of person where I don't like to hurt people's feelings, even when they are wrong. I don't like to hurt their feelings, but it came to a point in time where I needed to step up and say what I need to say, because what happened is that starts to be a burden on you. Then it starts to be a foundation where it starts to stack on top of you. And then everything that the person will do, it will be a problem on top of that problem, on top of that problem, on top of that problem. So for me going forward after my second divorce, I said, whatever I have an issue with, I am going to express. And that was the one thing that I needed to step up. I had a conversation with my brother, and he was like, even though this person may have done all of this. They was like, but there was something that you did also in your marriage to contribute to it. And I remember I was like, but I didn't do anything. And then I had to sit and reflect. And I said, you know what? You are absolutely right. I said, I never spoke up. I let a lot of things go by and I never spoke up. So that was the one main thing that I have learned after a divorce.
Listen, I really commend you on taking accountability for that, because there's some women out here. I know you see them on social media, but they will not take accountability to save their lives. They let them tell the men is all in the wrong and stuff. And also, I feel you on speaking up too, because although I have a podcast, sometimes I could be kind of passive because I'm like, it ain't really worth my time. But the one thing I've learned is like, you better talk to people before it snowballs into something big, because sometimes something small will snowball into something big, and then next thing you know, you're looking at a breakup or divorce or ghosting,
Right, exactly. And this is very, very true. And this is why I always tell people that when you are breaking up, give yourself time to get to know who you are before you're ready to step into another relationship. Because what happens is that you'll take what is going on in that relationship and you can actually bring it into the next relationship without you even realizing. You can bring in insecurities. You can be argumentative. There's so many things that can go wrong. And that's the one thing you don't want to do, is bring any old baggage to something new that you're trying to build.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what I'm saying? Also, people, you need to heal too before getting into another relationship, because sometimes you will look for things as soon as somebody does something wrong, you compare them to the last person. And I had an ex do that to me, and I'm like, did you really heal? If you take it, I know I messed up, I take accountability for that, but why did you compare me to one of your exes when I can hold down a job, unlike your ex? Last time you told me.
You see? Exactly. And that's the thing. When they start comparing, then they really haven't let go, or they may have let go, but they haven't healed themselves and they're not ready to be in a relationship. And that's okay. But what I also find with a lot of women, but I also know it's a lot of men, they don't like to be alone. So I have known females that will go from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship. I know women who have never been by themselves. They've never been single because they've always jumped from one relationship to another, to the next, to the next, to the next. And what happened is when you do something like that, you lose your own identity because you become a chameleon and you want to please them and be like them, and you don't know who you are. And if you take a break, you get to know who you are. You get to know your dislikes, what you accept, what you don't accept, what you do like, what you can compromise on. Little things like that actually do matter, and it's part of self-healing. People don't realize that it is part of self-healing, but a lot of people don't take those steps to do that. They will just keep going and going and going and going and trying to figure out why they are in the same predicament with every person they have been with.
Yes, that's true. That people don't understand the definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again, but looking for a different result. And I know plenty of men that do the same thing. Instead of trying to get their own place to stay, they will just pretend to be, oh, I'm in love with this woman. Then when it blows up, they homeless for a little bit, and then next thing you know, they talking to somebody else. It's like, that's not healthy. Like, that is really not healthy for anybody.
Yes. Yeah. I have I have a brother like that. He lives off of women. He'll jump from a woman to woman, and he's like, he thinks cooking and cleaning is the payment and stuff. And I was like, that doesn't pay bills. I was like, it's only but so much you can do before they're going to kick you out. And it's unfortunate because there are plenty of men that I know that is like him, that is like that. They move certain ways, and it's just like, that's not going to work for long. And that's what it is.
It is, but also it don't work for long because no woman is coming in there telling them that, look, you need to do this. And also because they may listen to family, but it may take someone from the outside. It may take another woman to tell them that, hey, this ain't going to work, So it's
right,
crazy.
unless he's being motivated by the woman. So it depends on the woman as well. Woman, as us women, we can make or break a man. It's not the man who can either break or make a woman. It's the woman who can either make or break a man. We can either motivate him or we could be a hindrance to him. So it's what we allow And if the man can get away with it, they will. And if they can't, she'll put her foot down from day one. I'm that type. I'll put my foot down from day one. So you already know all my rules and regulations.
You know what? I think more people need to be like that. Women and men, they need to put what they're not going to allow from day one. And if that's the case, and it'll make a breakout. It'll make or break the relationship because if you do that from day one, maybe down the line you're not talking about splitting up.
Exactly. And especially if you guys are on the same page, that makes it even better. When you're on the same page, you don't have to worry. You be like, well, he thinking the same way I'm thinking, so I ain't worried about it. It's when you have to question it if you see that they move differently. And if it doesn't sit right or vibe right with you, then it's best for you to step up and say something and not prolong it, because the longer you prolong it, the worse the situation actually gets.
Yes, it is. It definitely gets worse because it's like a ticking time bomb, or it could be like a bottle of champagne. After a while, you keep shaking it,
Yep.
Eventually, it's going to explode, and then all hell might break loose.
Exactly. So yeah.
And that's not something we all want to be a part of. But
Nope.
that's true. So, what is something about divorces that people may have not known?
I will say each situation is different. I would say my first divorce was not pleasant at all. It was hard. The arguments. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I think we argued for like a good 10 years. It was
Damn.
really, really difficult. Oh yeah. Yeah. But
How
you
the
know
hell
what?
you argue?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said, how the hell do you say in a marriage where you're arguing with somebody for 10 years?
No, we were at this time we were already divorced. And it's because I'm a type of woman where I don't get moved. So he used to pick and nitpick on certain things. And I think like maybe I'm gonna say the first 5 to 6 years, it would get to me because he would use our son against me. And I used to be like, oh my gosh. And it used to get really, really bad. My second divorce was actually easy because we had a discussion prior to. I told him what I was going to do, what I was touching, what I wasn't touching. And, I actually paid for the divorce. I didn't want him paying for anything because I wanted to make sure that it actually went through. And, and it was easy, the process in that matter. We still have small children, so I still have to communicate with him. I will say we are great at co-parenting. We do not talk to one another, but when in discussion of our children, we will say what we need to say about that, and then that's it. But to go back to your question, every divorce is different, and it depends on how it ends. Sometimes there are people like I have a best friend. She divorced her husband. They have been together 21 years. They are the best of friends. Not everybody can actually say that, so it really depends on how the relationship was during the marriage and then how it is after the marriage. I know with both my exes, I will never be friends with them, but we can co-parent together. And that's about it. That's about as far as it goes.
Mm. Well, that's just so at least y'all can co-parent and
Yeah.
find a way to coexist. But did a thought ever come to your mind if it gets past a certain number of years that I'm just gonna ride this out and we're just gonna be together? Because to get divorced after 20 years, I find that kind of crazy.
You know what it is? Because of course a lot of us was talking about the Judge Mathis
Yeah,
situation
we
with
saw
his
that
wife.
situation. Yeah.
She wants to divorce him after 39 years. And even though there's a lot of he said, she said, what's going on, I know he had addressed the public, and basically it was his work interfere with his marriage and he didn't make enough time for her and things like that. I will say this part, and like I said, I'm a different type of woman. I have been with a lot of, I've dated entrepreneurs. My first husband, he was an entrepreneur. He had his own business. My second one, he had a career, and their jobs did take a lot away from the home. But I knew that going in. And I knew
Mm.
that they are men, they are providers, they want to provide for their children, they want to provide for their household and everything else. My first husband, I used to only see him for 1 hour. and he was gone the
1
rest.
hour?
For 1 hour, he was a taxi driver. So he was all over New Jersey, and I would see him for 1 hour, which was that hour for him he would come home, shower, get dressed, and then head right back out to work because we had a child. And even though I worked too, mind you, I did work as well, but he was like, the house needed work and he needed to do this, and I did not complain. My second husband, with him, he had his career, he has set hours, and but he would do his overtime as well. And during like the end of the year, he will work, and even the kids will be like, well, where's dad? And I would tell him, I was like, you need to be home because your kids miss you. And the funny part is, it's not like the kids want to do anything with him, it's just their dad just wasn't there. And he would take off from overtime for about 2 to 3 months just so he could be home with them. So that was an easy fix. He understood, but he also let me know that if he is away too long, he said, just let me know and I'll stop. So communication is the key. I will say that much.
Yes, that's the major. Communication is definitely the key to any good relationship or marriage or certain situations and stuff. So talk about this. What's it like getting back into the dating pool after you've been divorced? Well, been divorced twice. What's that experience like? Because I feel bad for a lot of people that's still in the dating pool.
Well,
like myself.
I will say this much. I am in a full blown relationship now, and we met the old fashioned way. Prior to me meeting him, I used to be on the dating apps, and the dating apps, the one who ghosted me, I met on a dating app. So I will say that I met him on a
Damn, that's the same with me. Oh, you see? ain't that the shit? The one that ghosted me, I met on the dating app. This person left me a long ass paragraph saying how they're interested and wanting to move forward and stuff.
Oh my god!
I'm like, god damn, ain't this some shit? We both got ghosted by people on the goddamn dating apps.
Yeah, we sure did. You see that? So so I was like, well, I stood away from the dating app because of that for a little bit. But prior to me meeting the man that I am with now, I did go back on the dating app at the beginning of this year. I was back on there, and I have to say it just wasn't worth it. A lot of them that's on there, I mean, they're straight shooters. A lot of them was looking for just to have a friend with benefits. Some of them, they may have sounded off as if they was looking for relationships, but then at the end of the day, they really wasn't. Because I tend to come off a certain way. And the one thing that I left out of all conversations was any kind of sex talk. And during most of these guys, or probably and women on your end, if you meet them on a dating app, a lot of them, they want to go straight to that. And it was just like, all right, you're blocked. And I would do that. I will X them out. And that was it. They go like right back into the candidate pool, so to say. And I will move on to the next. And I made sure that I did the chosen of them. And then I would choose them. And because they had already chose me. So it was up to me to choose them. So I would choose them. We'll start a conversation. If the conversation wasn't going the way it was, I X'd them out. And that's how it was. I stayed on the dating app for about 1 month. And I was like, this is not for me. And I prayed about it. And I was like, I know I'm probably going to have to meet somebody out in the street. And lo and behold, the person that I am with now, he actually spotted me on the street. I was working out and he spotted me. And the rest is history because we're still together now.
That's what's up. At least you found somebody, you know what I'm saying? So what's some advice that you want to give to people who have been like newly divorced or they're thinking about the divorce?
So usually I will speak for the women on a woman behalf. 9 times out of 10, if we already thinking about divorce, we already have made up our mind some time ago that we are going to divorce the person that we are married to. I can speak for me. I kind of knew 2 years prior, before I even left my ex-husband, that I was that our marriage wasn't going to last. So slowly but surely for me, I started putting my ducks in the row to prepare for this. I didn't know exactly when is exactly it was going to happen, but it seemed like during COVID, everything happened during that time. And we had talked about it. We had some harsh conversations until we had like one last blow up, and then that was the end of it. But prior to that, what many don't know is that I had already started my divorce proceedings, and then when we had the blow up, all I had to do was just push the button, and that was it. I had everything already set up. So usually if a woman is ready to divorce, it's because she already had thought about it for a while now. It's not something that happens overnight or anything like that. It's just we had enough of whatever the situation is, or maybe they just don't want to be married anymore. Nonetheless, it's already been planted in her head that she's going to take these steps. For those who already been newly divorced, my advice is take some time out for yourself. Learn to date yourself. I date myself all the time. I used to, well, I will say before I'm with the man that I'm with now, because he dates me all the time. But prior to him, I used to take myself out to the movies. I would take myself out to dinner. I would do brunch. I would do breakfast, and I was okay. I did long walks. Learn to date yourself and get to know who you are before you even consider dating anybody. And just enjoy yourself. Have time for yourself. That's like the best advice I can give to a man and a woman who is newly divorced.
Yes, that is some really good advice. I definitely agree with all that. We gotta take time for ourselves, gotta learn ourselves, and also
Mhm.
because if you can't learn yourself, then how in the world is someone else expecting to learn you as well?
Right.
Because it don't make no sense. Because you gotta learn yourself so that way you know what bullshit you're not gonna take from anybody.
Exactly. And the thing is that a lot of times, if you've been in a long term marriage, the only people you know is the person you've been married to. And you know how to adjust and all that other stuff. But when it comes after the marriage, it's like, okay, who am I now? How can I now? You have to readjust to being a single person, and you have to learn so much about yourself and prepare for those things. um you just gotta do it. You just gotta do it. That's all to it. Just do it. Just go out, enjoy yourself. I remember one time I took myself to Applebee's. That's my little spot there. And I took myself to Applebee's, and I remember the waitress there, they sat me, or the host rather, sat me at a table for 8 people. You know how embarrassed I was? Everybody at the bar looking at me like, who else is coming? And I sat there on my phone. I was watching probably another podcast and eating my food with 7 other seats. And it was just me. I felt a
Yeah,
little awkward, but I said, you know what? I said, it's okay. I get dressed up. I used to get dressed up and just go out. Just go out. And it would be me and myself and I. And sometimes that's all
I
you
feel that.
need. Hmm.
I definitely feel that because sometimes I'll go out to the nice restaurants or I'll go out to brunch by myself and people be looking at you like you're crazy. But man, fuck them. You know what I'm saying? They
Yep,
ain't paying for nothing. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Enjoy your time. So,
That's
ladies and gentlemen, to my single people out there, just go out there and date yourself. You know what I'm saying? Go to
right.
the nice places and
That's
scout
right.
places outside way when you know somebody, when you meet somebody. You tell
That's
them, hey,
right.
I got this place you want to check out. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
Like they tell you, hey, I like seafood. Oh, here's a good seafood spot. Or good
Yeah.
rib spot. Hey, here's a good
Yeah.
rib spot.
Yeah. But you know what the crazy part is? That's the times when you're dating yourself and you're not looking for someone. That is when you find someone. I wasn't looking for anyone, but he found me. I will say that much. It's always those times where you are out by yourself and you're not even looking to meet anyone is when you find the person that you're supposed to be with. I will say that.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
is true. And also, why do you ever feel like people do this? Sometimes they will meet the person they're supposed to be with, but they'll push them off or push them away. Like, why do
That
people do that shit?
that is called self-sabotaging. And a lot of times,
Mm,
and it's crazy because I talk about this a lot with my girls, where we are, and women are probably more prone to it than men are, but it's self-sabotaging when we feel like either A, we may not be good enough for the person, or we feel like we don't meet their expectations, and yet this person is like, yes, you're everything that I want, and we are just being very critical of ourselves and just saying, no, I'm not the person. And we don't realize that we self-sabotage it until afterwards, and you'd be like, damn, that person was actually for me and I messed it up, and it's sad to say, but it happens a lot more than we actually know. And with me and my girls, we talk about it because I'm more of an optimist. So I'll be like, just go for it. And if it's not for you, at least you can say you tried. It never hurts. It doesn't hurt.
That's true. It doesn't hurt. It definitely doesn't hurt. And also, you gotta, if you keep seeing somebody around, sometimes you gotta go for it. It's like you gotta go for it, especially if you keep seeing this person around and around, or wherever you be at, or y'all hang in the same circles. Eventually, y'all might come back together and make something happen.
You just never know, And if you have a second chance, like I will say, with the man that I am with, I had a second chance. The first time we were friends. We started off as friends, and I started to get to know him. And I was like, I liked him, but, I was just like, I don't know. And then I accidentally sent him a text message that he wasn't supposed to get. And it was about him. And I was supposed to send it to my best friend. And I actually sabotaged that. But because I couldn't get him out of my mind, I couldn't get him out of my heart, I was like, I need to reach out to him some way, somehow. And what happened was, there was something that he told me to do in my house that I did. And I was like, I need to call and thank him for that. At least, or send him a text message to say, thank you for telling me this. It actually worked. I waited like an additional 3 weeks. So I didn't speak to him for 2 months. And when I texted him, I was very nervous because, and I know you probably feel this way, especially after being ghosted and everything. We don't like rejections. I don't think anybody likes rejection. So I wasn't sure if he was going to respond back to me or not. However, what I did was I sent him the text message and then I deleted, because I was like, out of sight, out of mind. If he doesn't respond to me, it's okay. I don't see the message. And right when I deleted, he responded. And I have to say, since that day, we have not been apart.
That's what's up. I'm glad you had the happy ending, you know what I'm saying? So, hey.
I still got a happy ending.
Yes, you got the happy ending. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to manifest that for myself and for everybody else out there.
Amen.
You got to keep pushing, because one thing I notice on social media is there are a lot of miserable single people. And I hear a lot of them on podcasts as well. And sometimes what they're thinking, their ideologies, I'm like, if you think that way, you're never going to find anybody, because nobody's going to put up with that shit.
Exactly. No, I totally agree with you. I think, there's a lot of single people out there, because I feel like social media is one of the prime relationship breakers. They're so tempted, and it's like they're willing to risk it all and not realizing what they have. They always say, the grass, a lot of people think the grass is greener on the other side. I have 2 sayings about that. My first saying, I always say, you think the grass is green on the other side until you get there, you see a lot of brown patches, because far away, it looks like it may be green. But as you get closer to it, you realize there's brown patches there, which means now you have to nurture this side. You have to now pour water on it. You have to put the seeding and make sure that you can get this grass green. However, if you did it on the side that you was originally on, where you was pouring your water on it, which is basically pouring your love into the woman that you with, or the man that you are with, it would have blossomed. It would have blossomed. Yes. The grass ain't always greener on the other side. If you take care of your grass where you at right now, which is taking care of the person that you are with, I can guarantee it will blossom. A woman is a reflection of a man. And whatever the man pours into the woman is able to multiply and pour it right back into him. And then it spreads out when you have children as well. So if you take care of home, home is going to take care of you.
Yeah, I get that. But how do you account for the selfish women out here that only care about what a man's wallet, like, why? Because I've literally watched some women complain about going to a coffee shop date or going for a walk in the park with a man.
I've seen it too.
No, you need to be spending money on me. My nails cost. It's like, ma'am, why?
I agree.
Let let alone some women with kids. Because guess what? Some of them are gonna be like, "Hey, my babies need to eat too." I'm like,
yes, you know what? I'm going to say me and my girls, we side with the men on this one. They have to understand, well, these women these days, I don't know what got into them. Um, let a man take me on a coffee ride. First of all, you want to get to know the person. For someone buying you jewelry, shoes, or whatever the case may be, they can do that for anybody. It doesn't mean they necessarily care for you or whatever the case may be. And it doesn't really hold any value. What I want to know is what you have in here and what we can build in the long term. Jewelry, shoes, all of that is short term, but they have no value to it. There's nothing to it. What, you want to look good? I'm the type of person is that if I can get it for myself, then he can get it. If I can't get it for myself, I won't let him get it unless he wants to get it for, get something for me. But the women that are out here who complaining about, I remember seeing the list of restaurants that they was talking about that they didn't want to go to. I was
I
like,
saw that too.
I said, are you kidding me? Of course, the men had their own list as well, which I thought was hilarious. But the women out here, I'm like, y'all going to starve and y'all ain't going to have a man because I can guarantee most of the women who claim they can do it, they can't do it. And then, of course, they got to broadcast everything on social media. Like there was one chick, the guy was taking her to a Starbucks. But I thought that was great because you are getting to know the person. And she was talking about, look how I'm dressed. Honey, you wasn't even dressed appropriate to go to any 5-star restaurant. That's another thing.
Hello.
We don't have a lot of women who are, as I like to call, who has etiquette, which we don't hear that word often, and who are not ladylike. They don't even carry themselves as ladies. They just want to carry themselves as, well, what can he do for me? Honey, what can you do for him? It has to go both ways.
You listen, those be my same thoughts. And guess what? I will have a lot of women saying, "Oh, you're just passive aggressive. You're this, you're that. Everything but the child of Christ." But I'm like, God damn. Y'all all say that to me you don't like. But I guarantee you, if it's a sorry bum, then maybe that isn't the one for you. I guarantee you do all those things, and wherever he takes you, you won't even care.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I feel like the reason why a lot of these women are doing things is for the likes. We all know that. They post something up on social media, they get all these likes, they get all this recognition. That's what it really comes from. And the thing is that if you don't start setting values within yourself while you are in your 20s, going into your 30s, you will not have a man that is going to want you. Most men, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they prefer for the natural women. They prefer for a ladylike. They prefer for a woman to be soft, not loud, not ratchet, not and all of this other stuff. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel that that's what most men are looking for. Because at the end of the day, the women who are out there, who wants a man to buy this and do this for them, they're using them as trophies. It's just to show off. But at the end of the day, they're not even thinking about taking you this to meet their mom. They got some plain Jane person on the side who is very low key, who is a lady who's there to support, love, and be there to take care of him. And that is who he's bringing to his mom.
That's true. That is so true. However, there are some women that's like, the loud ones, they know how to conform. They know how to not stay in that manner, that loud brashness if they find the right man. So
remains to be seen.
I'm not that type of
person. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm loud in my own way, but I am from New York. I am from Brooklyn. And I also know, but I know how to conduct myself as well. I know how I am when I am with my man. I know how I am when I'm with my girls. It's not too much of a difference. It's how can I say? I'm not going to say like I'm the same exact person, but my behavior is exactly the same no matter where I go. Whether I'm in a professional setting or a personal setting is exactly the same.
That's what's up, and that's what we need. That's what we need more of, people to just
Absolutely.
be themselves, no matter what
No
segment.
matter
They
what.
know what they're, and also they need to know how to be like a chameleon. They know how to blend into it. It's like they need also people need to know how to read the room. It's like
Oh my
you need to
God. We were
know.
always talking about that.
Yes,
Yes.
you need to know how to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's some settings where it's okay to be loud and say and be brash, but then there are some settings where you need to tone it down a little bit. So you
Yes.
definitely got to read the room.
I say that all the time. And, we always have like that one friend, and I just be like, oh my gosh, like, can you please not? Like, it's almost like, if you have children and you be like, listen, when we go to the store, don't try to touch nothing. Don't ask me for nothing. And it's like, you got to do that with that one friend. Like, listen, about to go out here. Don't be drinking too much. Don't be getting loud and don't be cussing nobody out. Hold your mouth, govern yourself. And it's sad that we got to do that, but we do.
That's so true. We always got to do that. Also, especially when we hang around people that we've never hung around for the first time, because it's like I'm
Oh,
looking at some friends. I'm looking at one of my friends. Like, you better calm down. Don't be trying to hit on nobody else because you don't know
hello.
who's with who. Because it's the first time we're ever going to somebody's house, so you try to be respectful and fill it
Absolutely.
out, and then go from there.
As I mentioned before, Victor, that is called etiquette. And it's just not there anymore, unfortunately, or even the morals of respecting people, your surroundings. It's just not there anymore, unfortunately.
I realized it realized that nobody has the Southern hospitality, but then again, the Southern hospitality has kind of died down some because it
Yeah.
is crazy. Like even if you go
Yes.
out west, nobody, no matter where you go, people, their manners and their etiquette has just died down. I don't know what it is with
It
this
has.
generation.
I totally agree, but I feel like that might be the adults' fault, because we have traditions that can pass down. I teach my kids to address people by Mr. or Mrs., because you're not equal to an adult. So if you see someone that is Mr. such and such, that's Miss such and such. And, the teachings do start at home. The respect starts at home. So my kids know if I hear them call somebody by their first name, I'll be like, who is that? Who is that again?
Hmm.
They catch themselves. And I'm like, don't let that happen again. And I have boys. I got 3 boys, so I got to be a little tough on them. But it's also, I tell them all the time, it's just a sign of respect because when you get older, you're going to want someone to respect you as well. I said, always remember that. You're going to want somebody to respect you because if you disrespect them, karma does come back. It comes back one way or another.
Yes, it does. And
Mhm.
I'm glad you said karma because I need people to realize that hey, karma does come back based on how you treat people. So
And
even
sometimes,
and
and Victor,
mhm.
just so you know, karma also it may not come back to that person, but it could come back to their children. So people got to understand that it can jump as well.
You know what? Speaking of which, my sister's gonna agree with me on this, but fuck my dad because I really think sometimes me and my little sister, the one I get along with, sometimes we paying for his karma because this man was just a hoe in the streets. He was just running the streets
He was a Rolling
and
Stone, Victor.
he was a rolling stone in hell. But I might pay for some of my mama's shit too. You know what I'm saying? So you know,
you,
you
you
love him,
got you got
but
no room there. Oh man, poor thing.
I'm like, you love him, but I'm like, some of the shit they did, you could. I know for my mom, she could forgive it, but my dad ain't no
Right.
forgive because he never took accountability. And even if I were to run to him, say he'll be bitching about what people did to him. Well, nigga, what the fuck you did to people?
Exactly. That's how it is.
People
And
don't
they
realize
don't
that.
understand. And they don't understand. So that's why I say you got to be careful with karma and how you treat people because it sometimes it may not come back to you, but it can come to your offspring. So you just got to be
Yeah.
very, very careful with that. So, and I always speak to my children about that all the time. I'm like, listen, you can't be like this to this one. I always tell them, I said, do y'all love mommy? And they were like, yes. And I said, well, that is how you have to treat a woman. I was like, yeah, yeah. Even so, I would say, I'm like, mommy is soft, I'm girly. My oldest son, who is 17, he had, oh God, he's in the phase of going girl crazy and stuff like that. And he was like, he always had me meeting, some of the girls that he's just talking to. He'd be like, Mom, this is such and such and such. And I'd be like, hey, how you doing? Whatnot. And he was always afraid to bring a girl to me because he was like, Mom, you're this way and they may not be like that. And I was like, but I said, I don't got to deal with her. You do. And I said, but you want to know what type of woman you want because you have a mother who is a certain way and you may want her to be that way. Sons look at their moms for the type of women they get. Daughters look at their dad for the type of men that they want in their lives.
That's true. That is true. And also my advice to them be like, you can't bring everybody home. And also the one thing I would tell women with sons, like you can't do everything for these women unless it's a woman that shows you that energy, that's showing you some of the things, the qualities that I tell you about. Because I'll admit, this is something my mom may have failed with me. Like, you may have told me everything a woman may not want out of a man, but you never told me as a man, what do I need to look out in a woman? You got, because there are some very toxic women out here.
Absolutely.
Let's keep it up.
And let me tell you, I talk to my sons about it. How I do it is when it comes to especially my oldest son, because I have two young children. I have a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old, 7.5-year-old. So they're still, small. But my 17-year-old, I talk to him in two different forms. I talk to him in the mother form, and then I also talk to him as a girl in the streets. So he gets it from both angles. Because I was like, as a mom, this is what you should be looking for. I even tell him, I was like, if you go in her closet, her bathroom closet or a medicine cabinet, if she don't got no Summer Eve in there, she dirty. I used to tell him all of that. I used to be like, she got to be clean and whatever the case may be. And then, and then I would talk to him as a chick out in the street. Like, if you screw me over, this is what can happen to you. If I catch you doing this, this is what can happen to you. So I come at them in two different angles so they can understand how it is in the house and then how it is in the street when dealing with women.
That's how it should be. And also for men, y'all gotta do the same thing with your daughters, because some of these men out here, you know what I'm saying, you gotta set the bar high because, hey, you know what I'm saying, if they being playing hard to get, no, it ain't no playing hard to get. It's they had a father that was there and he instilled things in that daughter and tell her some things you need to be looking for.
Exactly. And I'm one who was raised by my dad. So my mom, she had deceased when I was much younger. So I was raised by my dad, and he instilled a lot of things in me that I still carry to this day that I also implement to my boys as well. So it's important to have dads around. I will say that much. Definitely important.
Yes, I need you to tell that, because this is a woman that's been divorced twice and telling people that dads need to be around, not try to get the child support check, because I'm glad
and I will say this, I do not receive child support because I have been blessed that both dads take very good care of our children. So there was no need for me to get any child support. If I need something, they'll give it. Well, at least my ex-husband, he'll give it to me because he knows it has to do with the kids. But other than that, I don't ask for anything and I don't get child support. There's no need for it.
Now that's how it should be, as long as the man is doing what he needs to do and the woman
doing what he got to do.
He
makes it a lot easier for me. He makes it a lot easier for me. So no, I remember I have friends who was like, oh, you should take him for child support, take him. And I was like, I don't need to. I said, my concern is our boys, and he does everything he needs to do to take care of our boys. So no need for it.
That's what's up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Liquor Talk. Shout out to everybody that's reached this point right now. Shout out to everybody that's listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Hope y'all enjoying this grown folks conversation with your shot of liquor or whatever you want to have. So tell me, now, this last thing we'll talk about, do you feel like, is marriage really worth it nowadays for anybody, knowing what the climate is in 2023, 2024, now going into 2025? Is marriage really worth it? Is it really worth it to settle down with someone?
That is a great question. I'm not even sure if I actually have an answer for that. But I will say this: there are a lot of successful marriages out there. I am surrounded by successful marriages. I just wasn't one of them, and I'm okay with that. And I do believe that marriage, there is a benefit to being married. I look at a household being full, being whole as one. I was blessed to grow up with both my parents. My parents were married, and they were actually the first to get married, and I was the first in my generation to actually get married. And I looked at how my parents were, and I wanted to emulate that as I got older and when I got married. And like I said, they were married until death did them apart because my mom had passed away. And then, and I was like, okay, during my first marriage, I was like, I didn't want to get divorced, but it was necessary. I needed to get divorced. Same thing with my second marriage. But I do have friends who are in successful marriages who are in 10 plus years of marriage. And I have them around my age where they also got married young, and they are knocking on, I think, like 20, between 20 to 24 years of
Wow, that's
marriage.
amazing.
And they're in their, I'll be 44 this year. So we all the same age. So there's a benefit to it. I do believe that it is worth being married. Um, it just really depends on the people who get married. And the key to it is just not allowing people to infiltrate your marriage, not
Hmm.
running to everyone to talk about your business to everyone. If you have a problem with your husband, you have a problem with your wife, that is who you should sit down and have the conversation with. Because what happened is that all marriages has a rough spot. All marriages are going to be adventurous, and then you're going to have times when it's boring. You're going to have times where you're going to want to be separated in two separate rooms, where you're going to have your individual selves, doing your own thing. There are times where, you're going to be like, is this what it cracked up to be? Um, Marriage is what you make it. And if you want it
Hmm.
to work, then it will work. If you want it to be successful, it will be successful. When you talk to older people who have been married for over 50, 60 years, they will say they had their moments. It wasn't easy for them either. People don't understand that when you get married, you have to work at it. It's not all the glitz and glam, because that's why I feel like a lot of people get married, and that's the reason why divorce rates are so high, because they look at the glitz and glam. They look at the fact that they can have a big wedding. They have a wedding dress. He has a tux, and you have bridesmaids and grooms, and you have this big old wedding, and they forget that after all of that, it is now just the two of you. And now, how are y'all going to put your best foot forward to make this marriage work? How are you going to support each other? How are you going to elevate and motivate? Because there's going to be a time where you may have one person who may lose their job, and the other person is going to have to step up. Let's say if the husband loses job, is the wife going to be upset? Is she going to step up to the plate and support her husband and take care of the household until he gets back on his feet? These are things that they have to have conversations about. These are things that people should think about, because these are realistic things that happen in marriages. You got to be able to support each other when the times are really tough and when they are low. And sometimes you may not be able to see a way out, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's like you just have to see how long it's going to take for you guys to get there, but you got to do it together. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be sometimes somebody going to cry. There may be someone who's going to argue, but if you just stick it out together, it can work and it can be
That
successful.
yes, that is well said. Well put. Well put. It definitely is worth it, especially if people are willing to put in the work and willing to communicate. Because and also you got to take the good times with bad times. That's for anything in life.
Absolutely.
So I definitely,
Absolutely.
absolutely agree. Because there are some people that And also, nothing, you gotta give people grace. You know what I'm saying? Because people are going to mess up. It's about growth, and a lot of times that's why the divorce rate be so high. Because guess what? People out here, they out here. As soon as this person mess up, they out in the streets trying to cheat on them,
Yes.
or you
Yep.
know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
It is. It is. People don't want to work. They just feel like, when they get married, they are such a high, and it lasts a little bit until it doesn't, and then it's like, oh my gosh, this is. I don't want to do this, but it's important that I will say this. I remember I had a pastor. He used to say, "Husbands, continue to date your wife." And the wives just as much, you continue to support your husband. It takes two people to keep that fire lit, to keep it going. And as long as love does conquer all, but sometimes love can't complete it all, but it can get you through certain things. And as long as you have two people on the same page and they're willing to do what it takes to make it work, y'all can go as far as many others can go. And that's how I see it.
That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I think more people saw it like that. Probably left less divorces around here.
I agree. I totally agree. Like I said, I think a lot of people just get married because of the glitz and the glam, and they don't realize the work that comes afterwards. And it's not like you got to work extremely hard. It's just that as both parties get older, different perspectives come in mind. You just have to make sure that just stay aligned. It's okay to disagree, to agree. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to argue. A lot of people always say, not to go to bed mad. I say go to bed mad, but wake up and still say good morning. As long as you're still there next to me, I don't care. Me and my honey bunny, we had our first blow up not too long ago, and I was fuming. And it was funny because he didn't text me and I ain't text him, but I text him something, and next thing I know, he calling me on the phone and he at the door. And I was upset. I was really upset with him, but he apologized and he listened. The one thing I will say, he listens. He listens to my part. I also listened to him as well. And he knew I was mad, but he ended up dragging my leg, massaging my feet. And I just sat there. I laid there and I went to sleep right next to him, because regardless of anything, even though I was upset, he still needed to be right by my side, regardless. And people have to understand that, don't separate from someone because they make you upset or you feel like you got to run to another man or another woman arm. It's okay to be upset with your mate. It's healthy, actually. It's because you get to know each other and learn more about one another, and it's okay. But like I told him, I said, I don't care if you mad, I'm mad, we gonna sleep in his bed together. I don't care, and I'm still gonna throw a leg or touch you or whatever way so I can go to sleep, period.
That's what's up. I'm glad. Happy for you. I'm glad y'all worked it out. More people need to be like that. There are success stories out here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Don't let social media tell you differently, because let social media tell it. There are people out here in bad and toxic situations. You just got to ignore those people on social media.
Absolutely.
I mean, get your entertainment, but just keep it as entertainment.
Exactly, because that's all what it is. It's just entertainment.
Yes, that's true. So what do you got in store for the people for the second season of your podcast?
All right. So for the second season of my podcast, we are really doing like something called like the battle of the sexes, where we are going to get men perspective and women perspective on same topics, because we realize that women and men, of course, we are different. We don't think the same way. But I felt like doing this season this way so that there could be more of an understanding. And I feel like women need to understand men, but also women need to listen as well. We tend not to listen, and what we do is we listen to respond, or we hear to respond, instead of really taking in what the man is actually saying. So I'm planning on doing that, as well as talking to successful marriages, because that was definitely feedback that I received. Because like I said, I have more people that I know that are in successful marriages than are in blended families, or or even single. And talking about other how can I say it in a nice way, like harsh communications, that things that happen in homes, like different types of abuse that happen in homes that are not spoken about, that happens within blended families, but also in, as we call it, original families as well. So this season, there's a lot that's going to be going on, and I am so looking forward to it all. I really am looking forward to it.
Mhm.
And, once again, being relatable, because it is. And I love to get the feedback back from the people when they say, you know what, Lorraine, I've gone through that. This was my situation, and I didn't have an end result to it. So I'm always glad that I'm always able to give a solution to some of the problems that we all face on a daily basis.
That's what's up. Now, lastly, why do people need to subscribe and tap in with the Blended Family Podcast?
Because it's real talk. There is nothing scripted, except for my bullet points. I'll be honest. I bullet everything that I need to talk about, but it's real situations. I literally put my experience out on the line, and I also, like I said, I have my girls. We talk about it. Sometimes they okay with me expressing some things, talking about some of the things that they gone through, without mentioning names, and I'll put it out there. And it's just real life situations and conversations that we just don't talk about. Like I said, most of the platforms that we have out there is like, who's bringing what to the table. I'm kind of getting over that type of conversations now, because everybody should know what their worth is and what they are looking for in a partner. Now that you have the partner, how do you plan on keeping it? How do you plan on expanding? How do you plan on blending? What are the solutions that you are going through? What are the issues you're going through? What was the end result to these things? So blended family is as real as it comes. There is nothing scripted about blended family.
That's what's up. I want to thank you for taking time to blessing the Liquor Talk with your presence. Whenever you need somebody to come on your platform, if you ever want a male perspective, I might be in Florida, but remember, I'm just a call or a DM away. So whenever you want to make it happen, let me know, and I'm there.
Absolutely. And also, if you ever need me to come back on here for whatever, I am your girl here.
I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. And I appreciate you, the listeners, whether you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to us on YouTube or Twitch. Tell us what you think. What do you think about divorce? What do you think about the Diddy situation? What do you think about the bringing in people into relationships? And what do you think about marriages? Talk to me. And also, if you got some confessions and you're going to need a safe space, holla at your boy. This has been the Liquor Talk Podcast. This has been Grown Folks Conversations with some liquor. Until the next episode, we out this thing, y'all.